Atmospheric carbon levels reached a record high in 2013. And the Audubon Society found that nearly half of all bird species in North America, but unfortunately not including the ostrich, are at risk of severe population decline due to climate change. But despite the clear and present danger to the species, the ostrich-like members of this body have their heads buried in the sand of denial. We can no longer ignore the science. The time to act is now. I support the President's decision to reduce carbon emissions, and I urge my Republican colleagues to take their heads out of the sand so that together we can address this global threat. And I yield back.
But yet, for the most part, temperatures have been flat for the last 16 to 17 years. The computer models did not predict that. And so I think what we're coming to recognition is the environment is not as sensitive to carbon dioxide as maybe many thought at first, and that there are other factors involved in global warming and temperature changes. We may actually see global cooling over the next decade.
In the United States of America, there has been a growing concern about climate change and how the environment is being affected by emissions released by cars. The agency that regulates all of the emission laws is the Environmental Protection Agency, also known as the EPA. Each state has its own laws regarding emissions, which is overseen by the EPA. For example, California has the strictest requirements in all of the country. It requires you to go through a biennial smog inspection, which determines if your car is releasing dangerous amounts of emission pollutant. If your car does not pass the emissions test, also known as a smog test, then it is illegal to drive on California roads. The reasons that a car might not pass are because of a bad catalytic converter, also known as a CAT, and or modified parts, which can be modified exhausts or air intakes, or many more. Due to these reasons, the police have been pulling over people who are suspected of having modified parts on their cars. It's gotten so bad to where officers are setting up smog checkpoints and making drivers of suspected vehicles pop their hoods so they can inspect their modified engine parts. To get a view of what these drivers are feeling, we went to a local car meet and interviewed a driver named Eric. We asked him how he felt about the emission laws.
I feel that California is just very strict on smog regulations. It makes it difficult for car enthusiasts to enjoy their vehicle, especially when you look at like states like Arizona, and they have such loosely densely population of smog regulations. Like so much, like things here, they look at such a small amount of hydrocarbons, so you have to run a super high, very expensive catalytic converter to be able to run your vehicle, and then that depreciates horsepower. So again, I mean, I don't run cats on my car, but again, so I guess I'm breaking the law. But then again, I have a Class A license and I drive a truck. So, I mean, does that make me a criminal? I don't think so.
We then asked Eric how he felt about police cracking down on modified car parts and cars.
It's not to defend them in any way, but I feel it's a necessary evil, to be honest, and I hate to take that side, but there's people that really do abuse the system with that aspect of driving. Like, I'm all for modifying your cars and really reaping the benefits of a car that's meant to be fast, and I appreciate that. I mean, like, if you look at so much of like the Japanese culture, we have like the 240 SX. Originally, it has an SR20 motor in it, which is a turbocharged 200 horsepower motor. Beautiful motor. But unfortunately, they changed it out and they put a KA24 in it, which is a naturally aspirated motor, and it's not as beneficial. So I think they make it difficult on a lot of things. But back to what you were saying about modified cars, I agree with it to an extent, because there's a lot of kids, and I was one of them. There's just a lot of egocentric kids that come out here, and they want to drive fast, and they want attention, and that's all it comes down to. So I feel that it's definitely a necessary evil. A lot of things give and take that, variations, but like I said, I feel it's necessary. I really do, and I stand behind that it's necessary for some aspects, just especially with how many people are killed all the time. Like crops, if you guys have heard of crops, keep racing off public streets. I mean, it really is something that's something that's necessary.
After the car meet, we went to a local smog shop to see what the manager had to say about strict emission laws.
It's laws regulations for one, and I think it's good for the environment. We call it the greenhouse, so less pollutant in the air.
Then we asked him how he feels about people having to do their smog checks illegally.
Yeah, it's a downfall for us because you get illegal smogs. Like I said before, is for the pollutant. They'll fine you, they'll fine us. Whatever. That's why they'll do it the proper way. To do it legit.
The Clean Air Act is a federal law designed to regulate air pollution on a national level. It requires the Environmental Protection Agency to develop and enforce regulations to protect the public from airborne contaminants known to be hazardous to human health. The Clean Air Act was the first major environmental law in the United States. We asked two very different people how they felt about the strict smog laws. One felt that they need to be lifted and the other felt that they are necessary.